the author of the renowned book, Gem Merchant, How to Be One, How to Deal with One. The buying and selling experience that has led him to be able to write this book is vast. He is a native New Yorker and now lives solely in Brazil. He has worked as a gem buying agent, gem dealer, gem cutter, but his main focus, and that which is part of what makes us so lucky to have him here today, is on gem economics. He got into teaching this subject because when he started, he saw the amount of exploitation due to the unnecessarily secretive manner in which gem business was conducted. He wanted to teach and make a change as soon as he had gained enough experience to be able. He now has more than enough experience and is able to focus on gem economics. We are lucky to have him here, all the way from Brazil, no less, to teach us how to negotiate. Please join me in a round of applause for David Epstein.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you. How important is negotiating to the gem buyer and seller? Some years ago, I was in the trading plaza in the outdoor park in Teatro Ottoni, and I invited up a deal man who I had met several times before to look at some closeouts. Jensen was born in Czechoslovakia. He escaped from the Soviet bloc, traveled around the world several times, became a gem trader, and was known as a very successful and hard negotiator for a good eye for merchandise. I knew of him from other people, and when he came up, I had carefully selected some goods which I really did want to close out, and showed it to him. I gave him a very good price. I knew it, and I knew he knew it. But I also knew he was going to try and squeeze me more. We had to set parameters for our future business, and I had no question he was going to use some kind of negotiating. I had set my limit, and I had set my objective, how much I really expected or wanted to get, and the minimum that I would accept. He looked at me for quite a few moments, put his hand in his pocket, took out a wad of bills, and counted out exactly, to the penny, the minimum which I would accept. He looked at me again and said, "That's it, David. That's the final offer." I thought he was telling the truth, and if he wasn't, he faked me out. I smiled. I pushed the goods over to his side of the table and the money over to mine. There was a 20% difference. If you just do $100,000 a year, let's say you only clear out of that $100,000, $10,000 after expenses, you would have had $20,000 more, or 3 times your earnings in your first year, let's say. Is negotiating important? So, for those who think it is, you may want to pay attention to what I'm going to tell you. One would be at a distinct disadvantage if they didn't understand the product or service that they were about to negotiate. You want to be a cloth buyer, hopefully you're going to know the difference between wool flannel and cotton denim. So the first thing you have to do is be able to identify or at least verify what you're buying. Gem ID 101, that's what you're doing here. But after that, there are other things that come along. There was the new Gigi who was very confident in her ability, and she went to a gym show, and she got up there and she said, "Ed, gee, I know it. I know it's a site ID, but that bicolor tourmaline, I know what that is. And those golden hair ponytails in the middle of that I know what that is." Feeling rather confident, the sales lady on the other side of the booth said, "Yes, and which ones would you like?" And she thought, "Oh, gee, which are the better ones?" Well, she came back the next year. She came back the next year, and she was in the booth, and she had taken gem grading, color grading. So she looked at it, and she knew a little more about grading also. And she went and she lined up the stones in her mind in the quality order, in 3 species. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, she knew it. And the man said, "Well, yes, which ones are you interested in?" And she says, "Well, I'd like the best. And maybe the second best in these 2 species. And I have a customer for, I think I know someone who'd like something very cheap also. So, yeah, I could use that one also. Very good. The prices are bing, 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 bing." And how much are they worth? "I'll be back next year." All right. Well, she comes back next year. She comes back next year, and she understands the premiums for how much match sets, how much earrings or necklaces should be, what kind of discounts she can get from buying lots or greater volumes, or paying in 10 days, or paying cash, or what have you. And she's prepared. I mean, she's worked hard. Now she's prepared. And she asks for the price of that, and that. And the gem dealer looks at her, and he gives prices which were a little bit more than she saw in the guide. And she wanted prices which were a little bit less than she saw in the guide. And how can she get that? And that's what we're here today to talk about. Before we study the characteristics which are particular to the gem trade, to the jewelry trade, let's talk about some characteristics of negotiating in general. At times, some of you may be negotiating with people who live in societies which are constantly negotiating. It's an important, enjoyable, and a major part of their lives. They've been doing it their whole lives. How do you deal with that? You learn how to do what they're doing better than they're doing, or you make them play your game, whatever you prefer. We can break negotiations into 2 general types. Well, before that, let me talk about the importance again of how important is gem buying, gem negotiating, that is. I guess the system doesn't think it's very important. The importance can be the difference between taking a vacation on tropical islands or taking a vacation on Coney Island. Okay. All right. Now we can break negotiating into two general categories. Good. Antagonistic and symbiotic. You find antagonistic negotiations going on with many dealers, even jewelry dealers, but more often with gem dealers. Virtually always in the third world, particularly on a first-time basis, and even more frequently with miners. Miners in dealing with precious stones are usually there because they wanted to get rich quick, hit that pocket, find that stone, and live a rich, fantastic life. They don't know if they're ever going to hit another pocket. They have to make it there. They're not looking to the future. Antagonistic relation in antagonistic negotiations, you're treating the other side as an opponent. You want to get everything you can at all times without giving anything at any time. It doesn't sound like a course in American business ethics. But if you had built up a business in the jewelry trade, or you had a jewelry store for 30 years, and you're ready to sell it, retire. Would thinking towards the future make a great deal of sense? It's a one-time sale. So sometimes we confront what turns out to be antagonistic negotiations. In symbiotic negotiations, you're looking to develop a relationship that will be continual for the future, and not forgetting your own self-interest, trying to leave the other party in a position so they can do something good, so it can be good for them. Herb Cohn, in his book, You Can Negotiate Anything, tells a story. He was at a cocktail party. A man came up to him and he said, Mr. Cohn, I heard you were, you're the world famous negotiator, and you've negotiated this and that and everything, and I know you get hundreds of dollars an hour for your consultations, but if you just give me a little orientation. You see, my wife and I want to buy a house. We found a house that's really wonderful, but it's too expensive for us. Could you help me? And Mr. Cohn had a couple of cocktails and he said, what the heck? Let's see if I can help him. Please tell me, at what price are you willing to walk away from the negotiations? What is the limit, the maximum that you can pay? Oh, Mr. Cohn, we can't walk away. This is our dream house. We've been thinking about this since before we were married. And what do you think Mr. Cohn said? Well, my friend, in that case, I can't help you. The message is you have to set limits. Otherwise, just sit back and listen to the terms that you're going to pay. You have to set objectives, and you have to do this before you go into the negotiations. What do you hope to get it for? What's the minimum you want to pay? And the other way around. What do you hope to sell it for? What's the minimum you want to pay? It might be one price. You may just write it out and that's it. But it should be very clear before you go into any type of negotiation. You have to formulate your limits and objectives on such things as the quantity, or that is, the quantity of goods that you might buy or you want to sell, the minimum, maximum, the amount of money you want to pay or receive, and the time that's necessary to close the deal that you're willing to put out. You have to decide if you want an ongoing relationship, and then you have to form your strategy, either antagonistic or symbiotic, and the other parts of the strategy. These things have to be done before you go into your negotiations. You don't want to be in the middle of that and having the heat and emotion influencing your decision. This is the cold part of the negotiations. All right, you want to analyze the pressure factors of the negotiation. You want to be able to protect yourself from the pressure getting to you, and you want to be able to put pressure on the other side. You want to analyze the time, and sometimes you can make that time work for you. Either you're closing quick or you're holding off, and you may be talking a matter of minutes, and it could be a matter of days, weeks, months, rarely even years. You want it to work for you. The importance to the other side. How important is it to them to close this deal? You want to know that, if you can. The authority of the negotiator to close. That person may or may not have flexibility. All these things and other factors you'd like to know, and you want to get them. You want to get them as much as the time relevance factor will allow. If you're going in and you're negotiating for $100 stone, you're not going to put out the same effort that a large multinational will do on a deal for $90 million. They may hire, they will hire researchers to get information, not just about the company and the products and their market and everything. They're going to hire people to find out about the negotiators that they're going to meet. They're going to be presenting this information to psychologists who are going to tell them something about the psychological profile of the people who they'll be working with. And then they're going to make their decisions. Now, are you going to be doing something like that for $100 stone? Yes. But you'll be doing it real quick and very simple to the best of your ability. And the way you're going to do it is you're going to do the research. But doing the research, well, many people will say, good negotiators. I don't need to negotiate when I'm buying gemstones. Ask these same people. Well, do you size up the fella on the other side? Well, just sizing up the fella on the other side is research. It may be good research, it may not, but that's research. You'll look at their tonsorial, the sartorial makeup. You'll go and you'll try and read their body language. And if nothing else, you use that to help you form your decision. But there are many other recourses which you often have, and you'll try and use them. Okay. You want to research the goods. You want to know what grade the goods are. You want to know how to value these goods, all right? So let's hope this doesn't go forward. All right. You'll use some kind of color system, all right? It could be a master set. It could be color scan, the GIA system, which they're using now. But you're going to, in one way or another, make your color grades. You're going to make your clarity grades. You make your cutting grades on the goods. Just grading it isn't enough. You have to know how much it's worth, either from your own experience, which might be better, or from some list. This is one of the lists, the guide. Okay. You want to know the provenance. Okay, where did it come from? Why? You never know exactly why, but it may affect the price or it may affect the negotiations. Right now there's a lot of production, not too much production, coming from that area, mine, what have you. Much of the information that you will get on a major negotiation will be useless. A quarter of a second, a tenth of a second, doesn't seem like much time, but it can make the difference between a silver and a gold medal at the Olympics. Very often there's just a little difference, and that little difference is so important. Okay. I use a customer profile, and I have something somewhat similar for a buyer or a seller's profile. I want to have this, if I can, written down before I go into a large negotiation. I don't do it for a $700 negotiation, but sometimes if it's more, I'll go and look into something that will make a difference. Good organization, good records help. If you're in Brazil and someone says, well, what do you think? And you, how's that? And you go, who's laughing? All right. Have you been to Brazil?
No, but I think somebody around here has used that before.
Okay. You lost the deal, and you may have a black eye. You don't want to do this in Brazil. Okay. Know the local customs. If you're in Chicago, you're from Chicago, you're negotiating in Toca, Georgia, you don't be talking to the people there the way I'm talking to you now, because you're going to alienate them. You don't have to change your accent and say, well, I'll tell you, friend. But it's a good idea not to talk too fast. Okay, we're not talking necessarily other countries. There can be regional differences. Try and be conscious of this. What is this man's position saying? What are his eyes saying? What is his overall face, his muscles below the eye? What are they saying over here? And his next position. Okay. Body language means something. Okay, now we're ready to start negotiations. Would some of you like to come up and, after we go over some of the fine points, negotiate a gemstone? Please raise your hand. You don't have to negotiate with me. Okay. Now I'm mad that Robert Weldon isn't here. Okay. We don't have any volunteers. We'll have you negotiate with one another. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we'll have you negotiate with one another, and if you want, afterwards, you negotiate with me. If not, one of them is going to negotiate with me. Okay. talking about some things within the gem trade, which are particular to the gem trade, is that the initiator of the negotiations must give the price. This is more than 99.9% of the time the seller. If someone asks you, well, how much would you like to pay for it? Your response would say, oh, I'm sorry, sir. I thought these were your goods. Are these your goods? Yeah, well, yes, they are. Well, if you don't know the price of your goods, I certainly don't know the price of your goods. You set a limit, and you have to be able to walk away. If he's not going to give you a price, you don't want to buy it. You leave it. That's it. That will rarely happen. Well, it won't really. It may occasionally happen that they'll ask you to give the price. It will rarely happen that they'll walk away before they give you the price. Your offer must be defined. Is there some way we can go back? I think we skipped something here.
Just left click. Sure.
Left click? Wonderful. All right. You should constantly be reading people. If you're not reading people, they'll be reading you, and they'll have the advantage. Your offer must be defined. You want to define not just the price which they're going to ask, but is that a lot price or is it a pick price? Is there a minimum? Do the terms change? This has to be done before you enter the negotiations. Although if someone says, well, that's $55 a carat. Okay, fine. And you start negotiating what have you, and they see that you're interested, and all of a sudden they say, oh, but that was for the lot. No, is it $55 a carat to pick, or is it for the lot? Oh, okay, how much is the pick price? Oh, okay, how much is the lot price? You have to define this beforehand. And this goes to the same thing with jewelry. Okay, was that for one piece, or do you have a minimum? Whatever. You've got to define it before you go in. Now, this doesn't say that there aren't a great many legitimate companies who are going to lay everything out clearly beforehand. But just to make sure things are straight, you want to go and you want to have that laid out for you. Then you get in the conversation phase of a negotiation. At this point, usually the salesperson is talking about the qualities and the benefits of his product, and the buyer, if they plan on negotiating, is very often talking about the defects and consequences of these defects. After this goes on for a while, and let it go on for a while. If the other side wants to talk, let them. Give them more rope for them to tie themselves up or hang themselves with. Don't rush to close unless you're under time pressure. Don't rush to close the other side. They want to talk, let them talk. Ask questions which will make the other side define their offer. Or define what they're saying. That's very expensive. As compared to what, sir? Well, that's very expensive as compared to the other guys. But which other guys? Well, the one over in that booth over there. Oh, perhaps we can go over and compare. Well, his are a little smaller. That may have something to do with it. Well, it doesn't fit into my budget. Well, then I guess these aren't your goods. Can I show you something a little smaller and perhaps we can compete? Okay? You have to define what they're saying to separate the truth from the bunk. The essence of negotiations is comparing. Expensive is a comparative word. Cheap is a comparative word. You always want to push them, or if you have to, right up against the wall for them to define and defend their objectives. Their adjectives. All right. Now we've moved on with the negotiations. The offer was made, a counter offer was made, we've compared. We have gotten to a point where it looks frozen. What we very often do is we package, we ask for another price. Okay, well, I'll take this over here. And I'm going to offer you that over there. All righty. No. Well, that won't do. Okay. Well, how much you want? No, I want at least $49 a carat. Okay, fine. I can't pay that for this, but... Oh, come on. But for these over here, I'll pay it. Of course, if you would like me to put these in over here, then I can pay 48. And you go back. And he says, no. And then you take this out over here, and you put this over here back in. And you're going back and forth. And you're negotiating. But if you're just saying yes, no, if you get to the point it's a final offer, that's it. Okay, let me see those hands again. All right. Of the people with the hands up, put them a little higher, please. Of the people with the hands up, are any of you in the gem or jewelry trades currently?
Yeah.
1, 2. Okay. Do either of you, in the negotiations which you've confronted, had the opportunity to adjust the price up or down by? Neither of you. You have. Good. And you have. Very good. Okay, let's go. One, 2, 3, 4. Kindly come down here and sit in the front. Those chairs over there? Okay, yes, you move over. Thank you. We're at a gem show. I'm going to ask one of you to pick out anywhere from 2 to 8 stones that you see there. And then you'll decide if you want to be the buyer or the seller. I'm going to ask another one of you to be on the other side, unless someone really wants to negotiate with me. And we're going to see how the negotiations go. Who would like to be the buyer? Okay. Pick out what you want. Keep it to yourself for the moment. You are going to be the seller. Will the seller please sit here? And the buyer please sit here. Okay. Now, you will start off by asking the lady what she would like to buy. You're going to see the prices. They're written out. In this case, we're going to assume that if you buy 1 stone, that's the firm price, or else he wouldn't have written it out. And you're going to try and think of reasons and ways to lower the price. You want to make the sale, but you don't want to be taken advantage of. So you're going to think of reasons and ways to keep that price as high as possible. If you two don't get together, then the sale isn't consummated. All sales aren't consummated. Okay? You'll use your own discretion, and we'll see how that goes. You're going to get 15 seconds. Please think.
Okay.
Real good, are you?
Not bad. So what are you interested in?
I'm kind of interested in the tourmalines you have, particularly this pink one and that green one at the top up there.
Oh, hold on. Let's do it again. Okay? I'm going to sit here because I have the microphones. And you're going to get 15 seconds just to think. Okay?
Oh.
Hold on. This obviously is the part we didn't rehearse. What's your name?
Michael?
And your name?
Kim.
Are we picking up what they're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We're going to continue as if I wasn't here. Let's go.
So I was interested in the tourmalines you have, the pink one and also the green one at the top up there. And I was wondering if there's any way we could negotiate a price on either of these.
Would you be looking at quantities or just one in particular for yourself? Or?
Just for the individual stones. Seems like the pink one seems like it's kind of dark, and I'm not sure that your price is really in keeping with the quality there. And the green one is kind of on the yellowy side. So I'm wondering, is there any way we can negotiate something there?
Well, those are 2 of my better samples that I have here today. The pinks are very rare, and the green one is it's a chrome tourmaline, actually. Something that I think is a very beautiful stone itself, and that the greenish yellow is the way they come.
Maybe it's not really the yellow that's bothering me. I think there's some brown in that one. It's kind of desaturated.
Which one? Sorry.
The one, that one there. No, not the Andalusa, that one.
That one? Well, I don't know. It's, what would you, I'd be willing to go a little bit lower if you'd like.
What would you feel if I were to offer you $60 for that one?
60? Well, that's a little bit low. I'd be willing to go for 68 if you'd like.
68. No, I think I would have to pass on that. What about on the pink one? What can we do there?
The pink one? I'd probably be able to go as low as 80, I believe.
I think I'll take that one.
The pink one?
Yeah.
Okay, not bad. All right. What characteristics, either in tone, either in what she said, or in her body language, told you anything? And what was that Kim told you?
So true.
I'm sorry, say again?
I thought she felt like she could be easily intimidated.
Right.
I'm a wuss.
Okay, very good. Okay. All right. So that's correct. She wasn't going to be intimidated. She wasn't going to accept too low a discount from the gentleman, and she probably didn't have too much interest in that tourmaline. If she did, she should have made a counteroffer. Okay? She probably should have come back with 72. But she may have been using that just to set a protocol, to set a standard. So the next time he knew that he shouldn't be offering a discount of 3% because she was just going to blow him off. Okay.
I kind of felt like she wasn't as confident in her reasons for wanting a discount or wanting the stone.
Yeah, well, she was full of hot air, but as we saw later, the reason was she was just playing to set up standards, and she blew him off when he said, "Okay, you got a 3% discount." That's what she may have been wanting to do. All right, now. What did he do right, and what did he do wrong? Hands. Someone have hands? There you go.
He agreed too quickly.
He agreed too quickly?
Just for the lowering it down. You said, what did he do wrong?
Yeah, no. He loaded 3%. That probably wasn't a mistake. She agreed too quickly when he said $80. Okay. He was so easy to come down that she may have been able to put more money in her balance sheet at the end of the year. Okay, she may have been able to go to a tropical island. By the way, that's not an island; it's right on the shore. And she may have been willing to go to a tropical island by getting more money from him. Didn't you perceive how quickly he dropped? Okay, she went, "Wow, I did it! I got him! Oh, okay, wrong. Okay, okay. Go ahead."
He didn't schmooze with her at all before getting into numbers. I don't know what that's done.
That isn't as important as he didn't schmooze with her afterwards. Okay. When she said he said 80, okay, just before he said 80, he might have said, well, what, because she blew him off on the first one, what kind of discount were you looking for? You see, he gave an offer. That's his obligation. He doesn't have an obligation, and he shouldn't, and you shouldn't, give any discounts until you really have a very symbiotic, long-time relationship. Any discounts until the other person says something. You can say something like, well, 93 is our regular price. Where we've compared it to other stuff on the market, and we kind of think that it's not too far off the market. I won't say that I don't have any room, but for one stone, I wouldn't be that anxious. But we'd be willing to listen to what your idea is. So she should have, at that point, she should have said something, okay? Once she said something, he should have tried to hook her into other stones to increase the sale and to give greater credibility. There are firms which won't lower their price on a single stone, depending. Okay, now you wanted to make a comment. What comment was it?
I was going to say I should have gone back to the green tourmaline after she made the second purchase.
Very good. Very good. You should have gone back to the first. At one time in my life, when I very first started with sales, the sales trainer at the company which I would be at would spend a half to an hour and a half every day drilling, training, simulating, every day. And when we got out there, I sold like I never sold before in my life. It's the same thing with negotiations. If you do have someone who can work with you, if you do have someone who will practice with you, who knows what they're doing, do it. You'll get better. It will make a difference. Okay. I thank you two very much. If you kindly sit down. Have you ever worked with Ruff?
Yeah.
Good. You're going to be the seller. You're going to be the buyer. Okay. You both seem like two very ladylike young ladies. You said you have some experience.
Yeah.
I would appreciate it if you forget what a young lady you are. In this situation, I'd like you to be as aggressive as you can, remembering that she's the... No. You'll be the seller. You'll be the buyer. And everyone will forgive you. You're going to be as aggressive as necessary, if you feel it's necessary. You're allowed to raise your voice. You can pound on the table. In your experience, you've seen people do it. And if you feel it's necessary, I want you to do it. Okay. You're the buyer. Pick.
Am I aggressive too, or am I nice?
Well, you will definitely start off passive. If she gets aggressive, then you'll do whatever you want. Okay? All right. Now, we have 1, 2, or 3. You're going to pick what you want. You're going to make up some price, and we're going to go. Hold it.
Yeah.
I want you to... I'm going to give you 15 seconds for you to think about what you're going to do.
Can we have some kind? I have no rough cost. Can we have some kind?
Oh, let's say $5,000, $1,000, and $1,200. Okay.
Okay. I'm interested. Okay.
Ready? Go.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you doing?
Good. I see that you're interested in some things. Would you like to tell me what you're looking for?
Yes, I buy a lot of color stones, so I was keen on buying emeralds. So.
Well, you've definitely come to the right place. As you can see, we just have some exceptional goods. What, are you more interested in the high quality, or you want to do the whole lot?
I see the lot has tiny size stones, so do you allow selections?
We do. It's at a higher premium. We have a fuller. You have a pick price, or
Right.
yeah. So you
give
can
me
pick.
an idea about what would be if I have to select pieces of a fine quality or buy a whole lot.
Right. Well, for the whole lot, I was thinking about going around $5,500 for the lot. So if you were to pick half, like the pick price, wow, I have no idea how to do these numbers. Why don't you let me know how many are you thinking of buying?
How much?
Well,
The
I mean, how
quantity?
many? Yeah, how many? Like, what percentage are you thinking you want to pick?
Oh, depends on the lot. How much can I remove from it depends, and depends on the price that you quote. It should be worth it. As I see, it's not so much in color. It's it's as good as buying barrels. They're very light in color.
Oh no, absolutely not. I mean, we have some phenomenal Colombian emeralds in here. I mean, you definitely do have some ones that aren't quite as good. But then look at these. I mean, these are phenomenal color green. And if you were at Tucson, you'd see that green is the color of the year. I've had so many people really interested in these emeralds. I've had like 10 people come by today.
And I buy only Colombian.
Right. Well, then you're in the right place.
So.
Yeah. Well, it is Colombian. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I would select at least 40%.
Okay. Well, let's say at a percent of, say for the whole lot, I was going to do $5,500. If you want to pick, let's say, pick price. If we have 10 stones, if you want to pick, say 7. I don't know how to do the numbers.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Why don't you say 3,500 for 40%?
Okay, $3,500 for 40%.
Okay. And do you give me an idea about? Usually you sell rough, which is just the size, or you have a mixed size in it, like big size and small size mixed together in it?
No, absolutely. I mean, in the lot we have different sizes, different qualities, although I do definitely pick the absolute best qualities. So you have a wonderful stones to choose from.
This is a lot that you have to pick from.
Right. So what best price can you give me for the selected lot?
For the whole lot?
No, the selection, the 3,500.
For the 35, I do 3,500 for about 40% of the stones.
But I'm looking for a long-term relationship with you.
Absolutely.
And want to continue.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you'll see, and if you wanted to ask any of my other customers, I mean, I'm very into symbiotic, but I also like to form the relationship, make sure that everybody gets what's really important to them, and as time progresses and we form our relationship, you'll see that my discounts, become larger, but who's to say that you're going to come back? So, I mean, I'm giving you a phenomenal price. I'm sure you've checked your others and you've checked the guide.
I
this is
trust
a really good...
you, and I don't want to compare you with others.
Okay.
The best part is you give me your right price, and the relationship begins from today.
Right.
It's just that when you give me a good price, I come back to you, and I'm not looking for many buyers. I'm looking for a continuous source.
Well, that... I believe that 3,500 is a really fair price. I mean, what are you looking for? I mean, what do you think is fair, and we'll go from there. I've said 35. Would you like to put a counter offer on the table?
Yes, I think to begin with, and for the limited lot that I'm taking, 30 should be fine.
30. Well, why don't we just say, 3,300 and call it a day?
Okay, not yours and not mine. Make it 32.
Okay, it's a deal.
Great.
Okay. All right, let's go through a little analysis. Afterwards, if some of you have questions, you can either come up or ask the questions, because we've gone over our allotted time here. Okay. Let's have some comments. Any hands?
I thought both of the girls were doing a fabulous job of, trying to negotiate and,
All right. Your name?
Priyanka.
Priyanka?
Lizzie.
Lizzie? Priyanka, you were too gentle. You were too ladylike. It's ingrained in you. I almost held my nose. try and hold off with words like phenomenal, incredible. Okay, it's your insincerity was showing, even though it was countered by your body language, which was very positive. Okay, one, you would prefer to understate a little in the beginning to save something for later. Second of all, looking at the lot, that's not phenomenal. Okay. It was very good when you finally said, okay, put a counter offer on the table. That's what you should have been doing. You could have gotten to it a little bit earlier. You said, I only buy Colombian. You gave it away. You don't give anything away. Okay? Now my customers see green. They want legitimate, natural emeralds. Okay? They can be Colombian, they can be Zambian, they can be Martian. I couldn't care. I need a price. Okay? When she said it's Colombian, well, fine, that means they're more expensive. I don't need more expensive. Give me a Nigerian. Okay? So if she said they were Brazilian, maybe you say I need Colombian, or I prefer Colombian. Okay? But you fell right into what she was doing. In any case, you should have made no comment. Okay? After a while, you develop a relationship. You go along like that. But you hadn't yet, this is your first negotiations. You probably don't want to move into each other that quickly unless your grandfather told you to go over there, these are nice people, and do business with them. Okay? All right. I thank you so much for your help, and I appreciate it. I'm going to give you 3 or 4 books that you could refer to if you want to write these down. It may help you. One is Reading People. It's a well-selling book. It was written by the psychologist who was a consultant for the O.J. Simpson trial on reading the jurors. Another is a book which probably has sold about 20 million copies by now. Certainly, well over 10 million. And it's a very well-written synthesis, plagiarized synthesis, a $2 million settlement, plagiarized synthesis of the sub-science of neuropsychology. And the name is Power Unlimited. Okay? My own book will give you some insight into gem negotiations. The Gem Merchant, you can get that from the library here, and I may have a couple of copies which I'll sign. More likely, I'll donate them to the library. And look for some other books which may help you. You may also want to see the first 2 videos which were made, the first 2 lectures here, because you do have to understand grading for negotiating purposes, and you do have to understand evaluating for negotiating purposes. I thank you all for coming, and I hope we've helped you so much.
Do you have any contact information?
Yeah, oh, thank you. I have some brochures because I don't have enough business cards. And these brochures